Are you doing all of the right things but still struggling to attract wealth? You cleansed, you prayed, maybe even so given elbow. Yet money still slips through your fingers or just won't show up. In this live stream, we're breaking down the truth about prosperity or crochet in the Ifa tradition. What it is, how it works, and why it's different from a charm or a spell. You'll learn how a crochet can unlock opportunities and align you with abundance that actually lasts. You weren't meant to chase money. You were meant to walk in abundance. Join me and learn how to stop struggling and start manifesting real results. We're going live in just a few seconds, so stay close and we'll get started. Greetings and welcome everyone. Today we're talking about a crochet. We're talking about prosperity of crochet in particular. Welcome guys to the Asanee 44 Ashe Academy, even so, because we just changed our name on the YouTube channel. So welcome to this format. It's basically a continuance of really focusing on the Ifa tradition and things of that nature. So we just want you all to know that that is the true focus, the primary focus of this channel now, because we have covered other aspects of African spirituality, voodoo, etc. in the past, but now it's focused on Ifa. Welcome and greetings to you, Asaju. Thank you for joining us as always. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into it because this is a very loaded topic. First, I want to start with the foundations of prosperity or crochet, like what it's about. We're gonna dig into a lot of things here, guys. On the orishas as well of prosperity. We're going to talk about, how the crochet actually works, what you use it for, etc. So starting off, prosperity crochet, it is a spiritual remedy. It is used when you have spiritual issues that are connected to wealth management, wealth accumulation, things like that. So it can be used for many different purposes, and it is very, very beneficial in so many different ways. But we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of when would you use a crochet versus the charms, the amulets, and also elbow and things of that nature. So greetings. I think it's Zotic Enigma. So greetings and welcome. If I'm saying it wrong, forgive me. I'm notorious for mispronouncing stuff. So going back to what I was saying, you can always use a crochet without having to go and get a full-on Ifa reading. However, it may come up in your reading that you do need a crochet, but it's not something that you have to go and get a full-on Ifa divination to say, hey, I want some prosperity or crochet. I need something to help me out with XYZ. You can usually just go and ask for basic spiritual investigation. And how this will work is if you're already working with somebody, just ask them. Probably you won't have to pay for it. Like if it's somebody that we're already working with, they want a crochet of any kind, whether it's prosperity or otherwise, we just do it and see, what's best for that individual at that time and go from there. But if it's somebody brand new, obviously they would have to go through the route of being on board as an established client. So that would look like getting a spiritual investigation from us if you've never worked with us before. But the people who have worked with us know how we operate in that regard. Now, prosperity work in Ifa, understand this, it is not about chasing money or trying to force money to just come through. It's not this, money magic, money, money manifestation type of vibe that goes on a lot of times where you're going to force the money. You're going to compel it to come through by any means necessary. That's not what it's about at all. Instead, prosperity or crochet is actually meant to support your destiny, your overall well-being. So that means that it's about being in alignment with your destiny. So how you get the money once you take a crochet is going to be based on your individual destiny. That's why it doesn't look the same for every individual. You're not even going to have the same results or manifestation because it's based on what you need at that particular time. And I'm really going to dig into that and how that looks. There are other types of prosperity work, and they oftentimes just go hand in hand. So I talked about before, you can absolutely use things like the charms and the amulets and the Ilekes to attract wealth or prosperity to you. You can use Evo as part of this as well. And of course, you can use Akose. So I'm going to break down how each of these components look, how they work together, etc. So you understand the difference before we get deep into the prosperity of crochet itself. So we're talking about the charms, the amulets, the Ileke. So you can wear different things on your body. Matter of fact, I purposely wear these today. These are for IJ. Her Ilekes that are associated with her essence. They have her essence in it. They've been consecrated specifically for me. And so it invites that energy of wealth. That's the main Orisha of wealth. And I'm going to dig into her role in this as well. So when you're using things like Ilekes, you are protecting and you're stabilizing your energy when it comes to that dynamic of prosperity. So there are also specific like charms and amulets that you can get that are not specifically associated with one Orisha like IJ or another Orisha, something like that. Now, what these can do is to help to, again, protect, stabilize your source of income, whether that be a job, whether that be a business, investment, etc. So these devices are basically for that, daily maintenance. They help to support peace and balance when it comes to your financial well-being. So it can help you in the workplace, right? If you're using certain types of mechanism to keep that place calm so that you can even soak it along with your coworkers, your clients, customers, also of course your boss, where maybe you get a little bit promotions or favor, etc. when you're working with these types of devices. So they can absolutely affect very positive change when it comes to your wealth and prosperity if you're working with the right ones. When it comes to Ilekes, so you want to look at Ilekes that are specifically geared toward an energy that deals with finances. So like I said, IJ, Oshun, things like that. And we'll dig into that in a little bit, as I said. So these types of devices, the Ilekes, the charms, the amulets, etc., they can also help to enhance your motivation, your dedication when you're in the workforce, making you more productive and making you more inspired at work because your holistic health is involved in you achieving prosperity in any form, but definitely financial prosperity because if you're not feeling well, if you're sick enough, you won't even be able to work. But even so, if you're not sick to the point where you're incapacitated, you can't work, but you're just kind of sick because you're dealing with a toxic work environment, you're not going to enjoy it, and that's going to affect you all the way around. And in IFA, again, everything is about balance, it's about alignment. So that's where we want to be. We're not trying to just get money just by any means necessary and be miserable in the process. Okay. Now, these devices can also help you to maintain your physical, mental, emotional balance, avoid burnout, instability in the workplace, etc., etc. So they are absolutely great devices when you're dealing with general concerns related to prosperity and money. They can work as standalone devices if you don't have deep-seated issues, which I'm going to get to shortly. Now, when it comes to the Evo, Evo is sacrifices. Okay, these are the sacrifices and the offerings that we give to specific spiritual forces, the Orishas, the ancestors, Egbe, etc. Okay, these are necessary to help to prevent, ameliorate, or alleviate hardships. Any type of hardships, but specifically we're talking about prosperity here. So we're going to focus in on financial hardships, right? Um, Sacrifice is all about that dynamic of giving up something in order to get something greater in return. So sometimes you'll need to do that, especially if it comes up in an IFA reading that you may be having financial challenges or they could be coming up in the future. You need to give an offering. It could be to IJ, Oshun, or even other Orishas that are not specifically associated with wealth, but they may just be protecting you in that particular instance, depending on the energy, what's going on in your life at that time, what's going on energetically at that time. Okay. So the elbow can address those potential or even current, both internal and external misalignments, because that's what it's about. It's about getting you back in balance and in alignment that can block or hinder your financial growth, your financial flow, and stability. So you may have to do that whenever you're dealing with financial issues. And it's great either way, but understand the difference in when you're going to use you can use these daily, right? You use Ileke's charms, things like that, pretty much every day if you have it related to prosperity. You use it for anything, but you can definitely use it every day if you're looking at it from a financial perspective. Now, with elbow, there are so many different use cases that it can come up for, but it can help you when there's issues with financial mismanagement on your end or somebody else's end. Any type of unexpected financial obligations come through, and you need to be able to take care of that. You need extra money. Major economic changes going on, so these big shifts that we're dealing with. Of course, everybody know COVID changed up a whole lot of things when it came to economics, displaced a lot of people. Now we're dealing with the phenomenon of AI. A lot of people are worried there about losing their job or their job dynamics changing, etc. So, those types of things are also disruptions that even threaten your livelihood. Any type of disruption that can threaten your livelihood, Evo can be very, very beneficial in those cases. Now, the topic at hand is Akose. So Akose is used when you have major spiritual blockages or when there are interferences by energetic forces that are really and truly deeply rooted, and they're not going to respond to either the Ilekes, the Amulets, the elbow, etc. alone, right? So we're usually going to use this in combination with these devices, especially the elbow, because when you take a crochet, 9 times out of 10, you're going to also give a sacrifice to a specific deity, a specific orisha, to help to magnify or amplify that energy of the crochet. This is here. Greetings and welcome. Thank you for joining us as well. So those are very important devices as well. Everything pretty much works together. Every time you do anything, it works together for your good. Every time you give Evo, it's supposed to be progressive, but it's going to depend on your activity as well. But the whole goal is for us to consistently advance. So but when we come to the notion of a crochet, we're talking about deep-seated things. So it can address individual or even so generational karmic patterns that are related to finances. So poverty, extreme poverty, so scarcity, a lack mindset, sudden financial collapse, and things of that nature, money management issues, etc., etc. Again, these are the ones that are going to be deeply rooted. A crochet is also going to be used when you're dealing with some type of spiritual, heavy, deep spiritual attack, because sometimes elbow can, flesh that out as well. But oftentimes, if you really want to, get to that deep root, you want it to go faster, you want to see some results fairly quickly, and it depends. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in a certain amount of time because nobody can tell you that, but I will talk later on about how you can kind of get to your objective possibly quicker, because there are some things that you can do to help facilitate this process. So going back to what I was saying though, with the crochet, we can also get to those deeply rooted spiritual attacks, any type of negative spell work that other people are bringing against you. If you're dealing with like ongoing misfortunes that just resist those normal solutions, the normal remedies that we deal with in Ifa, you can definitely use a crochet for this, and it is very powerful. It can be super powerful, depending on, of course, if it's made properly, how you take it, etc. A crochet can support pretty much every aspect of financial growth. It can, I should say, pretty much. It can help with every aspect of finances, right? So whether it's your career, whether you're on a business, if you're dealing with some creative projects, some side hustles, even if you're investing money, if you are dealing with situations where you're looking for some unexpected opportunities to fall through, those things can absolutely be enhanced and advanced through a coaching. Now, before I get deep into like how it works, I do want to talk about the notion of money, right? In the Ifa tradition, the concepts behind it, morality, and then also misuse of it. So I want to get to this quickly because I did get some questions here about like how is money looked at, right, in Ifa. So money is an energetic force. It is necessary for fulfilling our destinies. It is not seen as something evil. All right. Neither is, this the love of money is the root of all evil type of scenario going on. Definitely, you should never be obsessive about money. It should not be your end game. It is something to facilitate your growth, to facilitate your alignment while you're on this earth, right? So it shouldn't be the focus on just personal gain. It's used to support yourself for sure, your family, if you have especially immediate family, but even so extended family, your community, society at large, in morally upright ways. And when I say this, definitely charity can be a part of this, but I'm not just referring to charity here when I'm talking about the communal and the social dynamics, but looking at it from the perspective of when you get money, is the way that you get money, is it truly serving your community or society at large, even so, or is it bringing it down? Because that makes a huge difference. If you're doing something that's morally corrupt and you're making money, even so lots of money, however, you're destroying people in the process, that is not looked at as something that is positive or beneficial, right? So EFI is all about balance. So you want to make sure that whatever way you are gaining wealth, it is gained through a means that is going to create salient communities. That's what we're all about here. All right. With that being said, it is not wrong at all to come to E5, even if it's your first reading, even if it's your first time, and you're in a situation where you're financially strapped and you need some help with that dynamic. It's not wrong to come to IFA and ask for that. IFA is all about resolutions. Most people come to the tradition because they have some kind of problem. It is not everybody coming to seek the spiritual dynamics. They just want to get back to their roots. They want to understand spirituality on a deep level, etc. Some people come for so many different issues. Money being one of them, is not wrong to do so. Again, money is part of a well-balanced life. If you're having financial challenges, you're out of alignment. And so IFA absolutely wants you to be balanced, because in being balanced, then you can live a healthier life and you can achieve your destiny much more efficient. Okay. So, abundance is definitely part of that divine order, that divine process, but you must embrace it with wisdom as well. So, that being said, you're not going to come and just consistently overuse, the money aspects of IFA. You shouldn't. I'm going to say you aren't. Hopefully, you aren't. But that's not the goal, that's not the plan, is to just come just when you need money and that's it, because it's supposed to contribute to your holistic growth, and that's what the system is about. So we're aligning you in every area that you need alignment in. So if you're just coming just for the money or crochet prosperity or crochet or what have you, that is not balanced. That's not balanced. So you don't want to just focus on that soul and get to overusing this alone. Okay. Now I'm going to touch on some prominent orishas that are related to prosperity, because I got asked about this as well, and like, what role do they play in this process? So IJ, as I mentioned earlier, IJ is that primary energy of wealth. She is associated specifically with market success, survival, trade, commerce, things like that, industry. Okay. So when somebody does get financially prosperity or coach, excuse me, they usually will have to feed IJ. So it may come up, in just a checking that you need to go ahead and give Evo to IJ. It can be different for everybody. So it won't necessarily be one thing. I don't want to say it's going to be XYZ because it could be so different in your case. It's always going to be based on what she traditionally accepts, though. So that being said, do keep that in mind. So if somebody says, well, if you're getting a crochet from your hour, what have you, and they say, well, you need to feed IJ, and you like, why I'm getting a crochet? I just paid for this. Well, this is why you want her to help to strengthen that energy. It's also really great to have a IJ icon. I recommend that for everybody if you're practicing tradition. To me, it's up there with having Ifa issue or re and it's another Igby. So those are like to me the five most prominent ones that everybody should have if they're gonna really be serious about working in the tradition. So coming back to IJ, she is closely tied to individuals who are in the marketplace, right? Own businesses, those who engage in trade in any form. So you don't have to own your own business. You could work in trade, industry, etc. Her goal is to ensure fairness within these dynamics. Industry. She supports hard work. So when you do work with IJ, don't think that money is just going to pour in your lap without you doing anything. Instead, she supports your hard effort, your hard work, your efforts at a very high degree when she favors you, okay? She supports growth. She protects those industrial dealings. She's going to keep you straight. She's going to keep people coming to you. She's going to keep you well, even so in your career. If you are an industrious person, she's not an Orisha that's going to be okay with laziness. None of them are, for that matter, but especially not her. So don't think, oh, I can just go and get an IG icon and the money's going to flow in my lap. No, she's going to bless your efforts, your diligent efforts, okay? Her energy also supports the notion of communal abundance. She's very, very, on that end, like we need to take care of everybody because if the whole community is good, we're all going to be good. It's not just about that individual wealth, all right? So she likes the notion of cooperative wealth, fair exchange, us sharing blessings. Definitely that could come in the form of charity, but she's not all about charity either. It's not all about just giving people stuff. Um, if you are well, let's say you can own your own business, what does that mean? It means that then you can hire other people and then you can help feed them through what you're doing. So that's that notion of cooperative wealth, communal blessings, right? So if the whole community is doing well, we can all eat type of scenario, okay? Oshun, excuse me, is another prominent deity of wealth. She governs more so the emotional connection that we have to money, which is very important because if you don't have a good emotional relationship with money, you're probably going to be in lack quite often. So this comes up especially with the notion of what I talked about before. We come into those different dynamics, Christianity teaching, you know, what is it? The root of money. What did I just say? Money is the love of money is the root of all evil. Those types of scenarios. A lot of different Bible verses that they really put out in the Black community during slavery and things like that to make people think that poverty was a blessing, etc. And that's not true, right? And so if you have a wrong connection or relationship with money, or if you even so suffer from poverty, extreme poverty, for the majority of your life, that's going to impact how you relate to money. You could be stable, of course, it just depends on the person, but a lot of times it's going to create some type of imbalance in a person when they do come into wealth. So if they dealt with extreme poverty, if they come into money, a lot of times they mismanage their money. That's what we see a lot of times when people like win the lottery or what have you. They may win millions of dollars and within a few months, right? Less than a year, a lot of times that money is gone because that person didn't have a good connection, a good relationship with money. They didn't know how to manage it and they didn't understand how that money played a role in their alignment in their whole life philosophy or what have you. So that is very, very critical too, that you have a right relationship with money, right? And even so on the opposite of end of that, if somebody's in extreme poverty and they come into money, sometimes they become hoarders because they're so afraid. They are used to that scarcity mindset. So they set things back and they never spend their money and they never even enjoy it because they're afraid of going back into that space of poverty again. All right, so that's it's very important that you have that right connection with money. You know, Oshun can help individuals out with that. All right, she is also so that's also prominent in your ability to attract, maintain wealth, etc. So Oshun also plays a major role in your ability to enjoy those finer things in life. So she's not just about working to eat. She wants to help you to grow beyond that space so that you can absolutely enjoy life. You can enjoy the fruits of your labor. It's not just about working, working, working to pay bills, right? Of course, you are going to have to pay bills. And she, too, is very important, too, from a money management perspective. She's not just about going out, spending, living lavishly. She's very practical in her approach. So you work well, you make well, you live well type of energy. All right. But it's very important in that dynamic that, you know, when you work with her to consider that, you know, it's about luxury and all of that type of things. And if you're out of balance in that energy, you could be overboard, and that's not where you want to be either. You do want to enjoy life, but just not be too extravagant to the point where you're not being responsible. Oshun can also help you attract opportunities because she's that Orisha of beauty, right? And attraction. So she can help to bring different opportunities to you, favor the right people to open those doors, especially through that notion of her irresistible magnetism. So she can draw people into you when you're working with Oshun, especially like if you're a child of Oshun or something like that. And you're in alignment, you're not out of balance because people get that mixed up too. They think just because a lot of people want to actually be a child of Oshun because they think if they are, then all of a sudden they're just going to be, you know, wealthy and have all the money and the beauty and so forth and so on. You absolutely need to be in alignment with whatever Orisha, with all of them, right? Ideally. But if, you know, you're working with your head Orisha, you also need to be in alignment. I've talked about that before. Like, oh, Goon is my head Orisha, but before I got into tradition, I was heavily out of alignment with Ogun. I used to deal with anger issues a lot, right? But then when I started working in the tradition, um, and doing a whole lot of work and getting alignment with Ogun's energy, I started to pick up more of that diplomatic aspect of him and come into alignment, right? Not to say I'm full on there all the time, but you know that's the goal, and I achieve it most of the time. Okay. Yemọja is another Orisha associated with prosperity. So that's that nurturing motherhood energy, deep oceans. Because of that, Yemọja is associated with legacy wealth, that notion of family stability, community centered abundance. So she's about the longevity of the wealth for generations, not just, you know, I'm good, my children are good, but she wants the whole family line to be good continuously, right? So she supports even so the long-term resource planning. So that's building houses and, you know, getting properties, real estate, etc. That is going to play out over the long term. Inheritance. Money is good, but you also want money that is going to grow and last for generations. And that's kind of where Umoja's role is within that dynamic, right? She wants you to plan for the future, and she wants that connected back to your ancestral roots. Even so, like the entrepreneurial energy that some people's ancestors have, she can connect you with that if you're not currently connected with that energy. So those are just some of the major orishas Excuse me, got what's going on throat today. But those are just some of the major orishas that are connected with that dynamic of wealth. And you could possibly have to feed any of them whenever you are dealing with a kosher. IJ, as I said before, is going to be fed most often. Other orishas could even so be fed. So don't think that it's just limited to those orishas by any means. But those are some of the orishas that are connected to the dynamic of wealth and prosperity, etc. So if you do want that energy around you, you may, think about possessing one of those orishas and working with them. Okay. Now, preparing to use prosperity or crochet. So just real quick, it can come in so many different ways, so many different ingredients. I talk about this all the time. Anytime I say something about a crochet, if you have allergies, if you have any type of medications that you're taking that could be contraindications, you definitely want to talk to your owl about that. You may have to stop taking those things for a while, okay? But usually, it's going to come in the form of, especially powders. I should have put that one first. Powders, it could be just herbs, roots, oils, etc., creams, tinctures. So many different formulas can be used as a crochet. It's really going to depend on what it is. It comes from, the Odu as far as how it's prepared and what goes in it. All right. I said this before, Evo may be required. 9 times out of 10, it is going to be required, even if they don't ask for it. It's good to feed an Orisha, especially IJ, as I said, to kind of enhance that energy flow when you're dealing with prosperity work from a kosher aspect. Okay. It's not always the best idea to take multiple okosha at a time, especially if they are related to prosperity specifically. So, right, we don't want to play this game of I'm working with this person over here and I'm going to go and get some prosperity okosha, but then I'm going to go over here and get some from this person over here as well. So that maybe everything is going to work faster. You could cause yourself some serious problems doing that. Anytime you're doing spiritual work with more than one person, you always want to have that conversation with them. Even so, if you're taking a crochet, maybe you're dealing with a crochet for something else, and then you get the prosperity of crochet, and let's say you started taking that a crochet for something else a while back, it was months back, and you're still working with the same person, you probably want to remind them that, hey, I already got this over here that I'm currently taking. Is this going to mesh with this particular thing? Because this particular crochet, so right, are they going to mesh with each other? Are there going to be any type of contraindications? Do I need to stop this one, and so forth and so on? Right. So when that happens with me, I talk to our this all the time because I know he forgets. He's constantly busy. He's not going to remember, oh, I got this a crochet like 4 weeks ago, and now he's about to send me something else. And so I don't expect him to remember that. And you shouldn't expect your owl to do so either. So you definitely want to have those conversations for your own safety. Okay, so results from prosperity or crochet can vary. As I said before, sometimes it can come really, really quick. Sometimes it takes time to unfold. Most often, it's just going to be based on what you need and how you're taking it. Being in alignment is going to help it work much better. So you can, if you're doing other things that are getting you out of alignment, inviting negative energy into your space, and you're trying to deal with prosperity or crochet or any other type of crochet for that matter, you can definitely offset the ability of that crochet to work as effectively as it needs to. So you want to stay in good character. You will Pele, not saying be perfect, but definitely try to walk in good character. Definitely comply with what you're told to take, right? So if you're supposed to be taking something on a daily basis, but you only take it once a week, then don't expect it to work as fast as it probably would otherwise. It doesn't make any sense because you're not in compliance, right? So, as I said before, it is going to work based on your needs, based on what's going on with you. So now I'm going to get into like basic different categories of how it can work Again, depends on your needs, and this is why the owl will check to see what you need at that particular time, because you may have taken a crochet, let's say prosperity crochet, for instance. Let's say you took it 6 months ago, but here in 6 months later you want to take it. You may not necessarily need the same one that you took 6 months ago because your energy is different, and maybe whatever you were dealing with 6 months ago, you don't have that issue anymore because that crochet took care of it. But now you have another issue connected to money. So you need a different type of a crochet. And we're going to look at that. So um, alignment and energetic shifts. This is one category that a crochet could work in. So sometimes you just need to come in and cleanse off some negative energy, because it may just be some negative spell work and blockages and things like that that is keeping you from having that financial flow that you desire. It could also help to just align you with some divine timing and opportunities. Just put people, situations, or scenarios in your way so that you are perfectly aligned. And in those instances, you can take advantage of financial or prosperity opportunities. It can also significantly enhance your magnetism and your aura. So that way you are attracting different people or scenarios into your environment. Now, these are just some situations. Everybody doesn't need this. And don't assume that, oh, I just need some money to attract these opportunities. Let's say you work in sales, for instance, and I just want to attract clients to me so that people will come and buy XYZ from me, because that may not be what you need, even though you may not be selling what could be something completely different. Mindset and personal growth is a huge, huge part of this as well. And some people actually need help in this area more than anything else. So, as I talked about before, if you're dealing with deep seated issues related to a lack or a scarcity mindset, a crochet can help to shift that dynamic, right? Especially if you grew up in a situation where there's always lack, always scarcity in your family, and you can't seem to get past that mindset. You can actually take a crochet to help you overcome that particular mindset, so that way then you're able to attract wealth to you from a mental perspective, because all of everything pretty much that we do is based on the mental first. It's definitely about your thoughts and your attitude towards things. It can also boost your confidence, give you a higher level of boldness. So for some people, there is some situations, especially again going back to the dynamic of sales, or maybe you have to stand in front of people and talk or convince people, and they're either shy or they just lack self-confidence. You take different crochet to help you to get that boldness so that you can say what you need to say to make those sales or to attract people to you, even so like in interview situations. So maybe you're really good at what you do, but you always have challenges when you want to interview settings because you get nervous or what have you. You can take a crochet to help you to get to that level. It can support an overall positive, more positive outlook towards money and success. Some people just don't believe that they deserve to be successful. They don't believe that they deserve money. That's what happens with a lot of people when they win the lottery, and they get all of this money, and before you know it, it's gone, because those people had a mindset that they did not deserve, that it didn't belong to them. So they were going to find a way, no matter what, to get rid of the money, and that's what they end up doing, and be back into a space of poverty and lack, and complain about it when they had millions of dollars that they just lost. And it wasn't just about them spending carelessly, it was because of their mindset. It can also encourage you to be more disciplined if this is an issue. So if you're having issues with being able to actually manage your finances, you take your money, just spend it on any and everything, or you dip into that extravagant luxury side of things, and you're constantly out of balance in that area. Prosperity or crochet can help you with that. Now, when it comes to the specifics of career, business, financial dynamics, there's so many different ways that a crochet can help you out with opportunities and give you different insight. So it can absolutely attract interviews your way, even so, so it could be the workforce where people just come and they want to interview you. You could end up just going outside. You're taking a coach, or you go out one day, you're at the store or what have you, and you meet with the person and they just like you and they invite you to some kind of interview, give you a job, and it's really nice money. Speaking engagements, you could be invited to those sponsorships, especially for those of you all who are into content creation, social media, things like that. Even so, sponsorships in other aspects of business or even the career workforce, right? Opens doors to overtime, bonuses, promotions. And this is the one that a lot of people don't want to hear, but absolutely a crochet can work in this way. It's not all about it. Actually, it's not about just money falling in your lap at all. That can happen in certain scenarios, but as I said before, because it connects deeply to IG, a lot of it connects deeply to IJ, brother. No, I've been saying it wrong. So a lot of it connects deeply to IJ. So herein, she's about industry. She's about hard work, diligence, and due effort. So it may just look like you getting overtime work. Yeah, you have to work for it, but nevertheless, it's extra money if there's something that you need. It can absolutely result in bonuses, just you getting money out of the blue. Promotions, but of course, when it comes to that promotion aspect, it can come with more money, but it's definitely going to come with more responsibility as well. It can increase your visibility, recognition in your field. People just start to see you, notice you, and that results in so many different opportunities for you to make more money. It can also help to improve your communication and customer service skills. And this is something that people don't think about because they're just thinking about the money. But if you work in a customer oriented industry, whether it's through a career or business dynamic, and you don't know how to communicate with people properly, you could be really kind of just sending them away from you. You're not encouraging them to buy from you. You could be nasty, you could be rude, and you not recognize this legitimately. You're not recognizing because you're not seeing your own self. But when you're taking the crochet, it can show you these dynamics, bring light to this aspect of your life, and it show you different ways to improve your communication skills, and therein that results in you making more money, especially if you're in a sales oriented profession. Okay. It can even so bring you ideas to help you make money, especially somebody who is maybe working in product development, like if they work for another company, or somebody who works for themselves or business. It can bring you ideas to help you to make more money based on what you're doing. And especially like the product development, right? So if you're working for another company, let's say, and you get these major ideas and you present them, you may not even be on the product development team. You just have an idea and you bring it to your company, and then they put you in a role for you to oversee that project to develop it, right? And in doing so, you make more money, you get a higher pay, you get a raise, you get a promotion, etc. So it can happen like that. Um, it can also spark really great marketing and sales strategies update. So you may have your own business and your marketing efforts aren't going anywhere. However, you start taking the crochet and it starts to give you ideas on how you can market better, how you can position yourself better to attract your ideal client, right? Same thing with sales. So any form of sales, whether you're working for somebody else or yourself, that's pretty much applicable. It can also improve your decision making capabilities, especially in high stakes situations that can result in more money, contract negotiations, and things like that. Maybe something's on the table and you're about ready to accept it, but then you're dealing with some coaching and it inspires you to ask for more, maybe three times, four times more. And you were afraid to do so, but then you ask for it and you get it and you're like, wow, you didn't even think that that was on the table. But the crochet just allows you to have that knowledge and that insight that you need to up your game in that instance. Okay. It can even so, if you're a person that's into investments and things like that, reveal investment opportunities or pathways for you to go in. So it could, if you're especially in the real estate, some great deal could come through, land right in your lap. Or you may just have an idea. You just wake up one day and it's this particular stock that's on your mind. You might see it somewhere. Somebody might send it to you, text you like this is a great stock or what have you. And then you go in and you buy shares. And you, especially if you're able to buy the dip, for instance, and then it takes off. And a couple of weeks, couple of months later, like it's multiplied tremendously. Things like that can happen. There are so many different ways. These are just a few rather ways that it can manifest. Everybody's situation is different. So this is why you have to go and get checked as far as what you need. This is what your hour will do to say, okay, what's going on with this person, and the crochet that you need will be, revealed to them, and you receive it, and it's going to work out for you the way you need it to work out for you if you're taking it properly and you are walking in alignment, as I said before. So now, greetings, all greetings. I'm sorry, I've been talking for a long time and haven't greeted anybody, but I see you guys coming in, and welcome. Thank you so much for attending today's session. So, post Akose behavior maintenance and concerns. So, there are some things you definitely need to think about during and after taking the Akose, right? Don't be anxious, guys. So if you're dealing with a coach, you don't want to be anxious and like just ready for the money to come right away by any means necessary, etc., etc. Because in doing so, you can actually counteract the results because you're inviting in negativity through that anxiety. And so that allows for other negative forces to come in and cause you different problems. And it can make you anxious to the point where you just go out and do something trying to force money to come through, and the money is still going to come through. It's not like it's not going to come through, but then you get into some kind of problem, some kind of trouble, and then you end up having to spend that money because you've done something to try to force it. So be very careful there. All right. Definitely want to stay grounded whenever you're gaining any type of material success. So you want to be humble, right? Continuously be in gratitude, be grateful for what the Orishas, what your ancestors, what the herbal remedies, the crochet, the spiritual medicine, because it's not herbal remedies in the traditional sense. All right. You're going to continuously work with your Orishas, whether you work with them directly through your owl or you have your own Orisha pots and things like that that you work with on your own. This is not in lieu of your regular practice. This is in addition to it, is complementary to what you already been doing within the tradition. All right. Keep in mind, as I've said before, coaching is normally going to be created for you, just one person or what have you. So, like, let's say you get to a stage, because some of crochet, you just use it for a certain amount of time, and even if it's some left over, you just throw it out. Or even so, you might be at that point where, you finished what you needed and there's some left. And you're like, well, let me give this to my sister, my brother, or whoever, right? And that's not the way you do it either, because it may not work for them. It could actually cause some problems depending on what's going on with that coaching. So you just give it to somebody else in that way. Now, if it's even so, like it could be a husband and wife team, right, that's working together in a business. You can only share that. You should only share that a crochet if you're told that it's okay to do so. Because again, their problem may not be your problem when it comes to prosperity. You're saying here, Ephra beats that point over my head. What point are you talking about? And you're also saying here, somebody else saying, by carrying cowrie shells brings what type of energy? So I don't know. If the cowrie shells, are they consecrated? I've never heard just carrying cowrie shells are going to bring a specific type of energy to someone. So you meant carrying cowrie shells. Yeah, I get it. I understand you meant carrying cowrie shells, but are you just talking about like some cowrie shells that you just go pick up out of the store or what have you? I wouldn't say that it will bring any type of energy necessarily, except that they are consecrated, right? So that means that they will go through a process whereby the vital energy, the essence of Orisha or something like that is placed in them. And usually that's going to happen in the form of like the Ilekes or what have you, like I showed you guys earlier. Like this is a cowrie shell Ilekes, but they are dedicated, they're consecrated unto Aj. So this is not just like a necklace that I just went and bought off the store, right? They carry vital energy. So if they're connected to a specific Orisha, you can any Orisha really could use these because they're white, but if they carry the essence of a specific Orisha, then they're going to connect to their industry. As I said before, IJ is connected to the energy of industry and getting wealth through hard work and dedication, business efforts, trade, etc. So that's the energy that she brings to me or anybody else who would wear her Ileke. So what have you also have like the bracelet. I don't think you guys can see it because my hand is normally down. But that's how that works. But if you're saying just going and getting some regular just cowrie shells out of the store somewhere or ordering them offline, I don't know. Like I wouldn't assume that they would carry any special type of energy. But I don't know. Maybe somebody told you to do that and they did some type of work with them for you. Not sure there. Okay, so um also be careful guys about sharing that you're using a crochet. I'm like this about pretty much anything, right? This is not something that you just broadcast. That I'm taking prosperity of crochet, you telling the world this crochet is doing this, and that for me because you're just inviting negative energy into your life. Just let the results speak for themselves. You don't have to tell everybody that you're using anything, right? And that would go for pretty much any type of a crochet or certain types of spiritual rituals, things like that that you're dealing with. Oversharing in general is just not the best idea, and I'm so against that, and I talk about it all the time. But you know, don't go. Some people love, take those pictures and put it on IG, Facebook. Look what I got, just shipped in. I'm about to take this. I'm about to enjoy. No, like try not to do that. It's not the greatest idea. You're saying where can you purchase spiritual medicine from your owl? So if you're working with an Ifa priest or priestess, you can talk to them directly and ask them. You tell them what your needs or what you would like the spiritual medicine for, and then they can check and figure out, what you need for your situation and get you all of the details about how to get it to you or what have you. If you're not working with somebody, you can definitely reach out to somebody and ask them and try to go from there. You're saying, is there a right or wrong way when practicing the tradition, and how can I train myself because I don't know how to trust people? I mean, by right and wrong way, absolutely. So there's certain ways that you're going to do ritual work, especially. So when you're dealing with icons and things like that, you definitely want to ensure that you are doing it the right way. You want to ensure that they're consecrated, right? When we're talking about things like that. Otherwise, the right way would always be walking in Iwa Pellet, gentle character. So if you're using the tradition for corruption or anything like that, that's absolutely the wrong way. But I would just suggest starting with your ancestors, talking to them, asking them to lead you to the right place, to the right person. Because in doing so, then you can find somebody that you can trust, because that is vital when working in this tradition. Like if you don't trust the person that you're working with, my suggestion is just not to work with them. If your spirit is telling you that something is off, please listen to that. So somebody else is saying, I met Kabisi yesterday, but I just don't want to be wrong again. Yeah, talk to your ancestors, right? Work with your ancestors and ask them to guide them. I tell you guys, I've said it before. I don't think I say it as often as I probably should, but anytime that I'm dealing with somebody new, especially somebody important in my life, I always just tell my spirits, my Ori in particular, this person isn't right for me. Take them out of my life. Don't even let me go down that path. Don't let me travel down that path any longer. If it's something like serious where I'm trying to make a connection, something major, depending on the nature of it, I will actually go and get them checked. And I know that won't be applicable in your situation because you're not working with anybody that you trust at this stage. But because I am working with somebody that I trust, I'm constantly going to well, this is saying, hey, I need you to check this situation out to make sure that it is, legit, that it's good for me. If it's something that I'm considering dealing with, it's not something I'm considering dealing with, I'm just like, nah, I'm done. No need for even going through that process. Aside you're saying it seems like a lot of feminine orishas are associated with wealth, money. Oya has been called the owner of the marketplace. Absolutely. So the notion of wealth and prosperity is feminine in its whole nature, right? The notion of money. Even if you're in like somebody was saying about cowrie shells, like just carrying cowrie shells, I don't know. As far as if that's going to bring you any energy. But if you look at a cowrie shell, what does it look like? It looks like a vagina, right? Because that's the energy of wealth, that feminine dynamic, that hidden notion. And most of the orishas that are going to be accepted, that are going to be connected rather to prosperity, or going to be in the waters, the ocean, flow. Money is about flow, the energetic exchange. So absolutely. You're saying I definitely understand that. Also, is there a proper way that I need to communicate with my ancestors? Or in other words, how do I communicate with them? I'm gonna get you to DM me on that, okay? And I can give you a little bit more guidance on it. So definitely there's ways to communicate with them, but I'll like pass on like excuse me, a basic way that you can just get started with that process. Okay. Let's see. So going back, repeated setbacks. So if you constantly still, if you're taking a crochet, you're dealing with some kind of prosperity work in general, you're still having setbacks, financial stagnation, lack of progress, feeling heavy or anxious about money. This may indicate that the crochet was blocked or ineffective. All right, so you need to go back to your owl, ask them what's going on to check for you because there could be some other energetic blockages that you possibly let in. Again, be careful about talking about what you're doing. Absolutely be careful about, walking in evil pellet, good character, making sure that you're getting money by legit means. Okay. You don't want to skip your elbow, as I said before. You're still going to be working with the Orisha. So you want to skip doing your readings, your ritual work. You definitely want to skip walking in evil pellet, ignoring your taboos and things like that, and not being compliant. All of those things are usually going to cause the crochet to have some ill effects, and that's not what you want to do. You are welcome. You're welcome. So definitely just DM me, and we'll get to that. I'll get to you after the session is over. Sustaining abundance. This is my last section, guys. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely go ahead and post them there. I'll try to get to them as I get through the message. Okay. So sustaining abundance. I know I've said this a million times, but it bears repeating a million times again and again and again and again, because this is not just anything you do in a tradition, not just about doing this work so then you can live whatever way you want to live, because that's a misconception that has been brought to the table, unfortunately, when it comes to, Ifa and the different traditions of that nature with African spirituality. That's not what it's about. When you walk in good character, you're going to attract abundance to you anyway. All right. Except there is something major blocking your path, like we talked about before, some really deep-seated spiritual roots. So you want to continuously walk well, all right? It's going to help to open those doors up and maintain favor and just keep you flowing in abundance. Obviously, you want to manage your money well. All right. So as it starts to flow in, you want to put it to good use, savings, investments, things like that. Something that is going to help to build your future out so that you can continuously flow. It's not just about getting the money and then taking it and spending it anyhow, and then you got to come back for it again. If you use a crochet again in the future, it should be for a different issue, not the same problem. If it's properly prepared and you took it well, you took it right. Okay. Somebody asked about clearing negative energy, so I just wanted to address this here. Somebody asked in the story in my IG story. So you can clear your mind and your body of negativity using other forms of crochet as well. So it's not just about prosperity, but it can absolutely help you with prosperity if you use the 2D I know I'm mispronouncing it. Soap, but the spelling is there, the TUDE type of soap. It can cleanse your aura of negativities and hope to sustain abundance long term, abundance in every way, right? So, again, that's not just for prosperity. When you use a crochet with the intention, guys, okay, you're walking in alignment, you can absolutely unlock prosperity that is going to honor your destiny, your order in beneficial ways. So use this as something that is going to help you to maintain your walk and get you to the next level in your journey and help you to stay in a balanced space. So that's all I have to share with you guys. Next week, I plan to go over the protection of crochet in a similar way, talking about how it works and so forth. So definitely be sure to show up and join us then. Before we before I transition out, does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns? I'm gonna wait for you guys a little bit on IG because I know that it's kind of behind a little bit from YouTube. So if you don't have any questions, I bid everybody farewell, and I really and truly appreciate you coming as always. So, Ashe, please have a very blessed and beautiful day and beyond, guys.